I was a big believer in Bitcoins. I believe in this thing. I think this is the way money should work. Telegram is a money-losing operation for me personally. Bitcoin is something that allowed me to stay afloat. The governments keep printing money like no tomorrow. Nobody's printing Bitcoin.
You're listening to Hopium Radio.
Good evening, and welcome to Hopium Radio, where conviction travels best through warm static and timeless air. Tonight's broadcast comes from Pavel Durov in conversation with Lex Fridman, a dialogue on freedom, discipline, and the quiet courage to live without fear. From growing up between two worlds to standing firm against greed and pressure, Durov speaks with a rare kind of clarity, the kind that costs something and is therefore worth something. And then the signal turns to Bitcoin, not as a trade, not as a trend, but as an idea. Money that cannot be confiscated, censored, or printed into meaninglessness. Settle in. Keep your pace steady. Here is Pavel Durov.
You've been an advocate for freedom for many years, writing that you should be ready to risk everything for freedom. What were some influences and insights that helped you arrive at this value of human freedom?
I get to experience the difference between a society with freedom and a society without freedom pretty early in life. I was 4 years old when my family moved from the Soviet Union to northern Italy, and I could see that a society without freedom cannot enjoy the abundance of opinions, of ideas, of goods and services. Even for a 4 or 5 year old kid, it was obvious. Like, you can't experience all the toys, the ice cream sorts, the cartoons in the Soviet Union that you could access in Italy. And then I got to realize something even more important. You don't get to contribute to this abundance without freedom. And at this point, it was pretty obvious to me.
You also wrote «Свобода важнее денег», translates to «freedom matters more than money». How do you prevent these values for freedom being corrupted by money, by people with influence, by people with power?
Well, the biggest enemies of freedom are fear and greed. So you make sure that they don't stand in your way. If you imagine the worst thing that can happen to you, and then make yourself be comfortable with it, there's nothing more left to be afraid of. So you stand your ground, and you remember that it's worth living your life according to the principles that you believe in, even though this life can end up being shorter than a longer life, but lived in slavery.
Do you contemplate your mortality? You think about your death?
Oh yes.
You afraid of it?
In a way, you have to go against your instinct of self-preservation. And it's not easy. We are all biological beings, hard-coded to be afraid of death. Nobody wants to die. But when you approach it rationally, you live and then you die. There's no such thing as your death in your life. You stop experiencing life once you die. So you have to ask yourself this question: is it worth living a life full of fear of death? Or it's much more enjoyable to forget about this and live your life in a way that makes you immune to this fear, at the same time remembering that death exists, so that every day would count?
Yeah, remembering that death exists makes you deeply feel every moment that you do get.
That's why I love reminding myself that I can die any day.
In many ways, you live a pretty stoic existence. I got a chance to spend a couple of weeks with you. In many ways, you seek to minimize the negative effects of the outside world on your mind. You've written, quote, "If you want to reach your full potential and maintain clarity of mind, stay away from addictive substances. My success and health are the result of 20 plus years of complete abstinence from alcohol, tobacco, coffee, pills, and illegal drugs. Short-term pleasure isn't worth your future." Let's talk about each one of these alcohol. What's been your philosophy behind that?
That one is quite easy. When I was 11 years old, my biochemistry teacher, he gave me this book he wrote. It was called The Illusion of Paradise. And there he would describe the biological and chemical processes that happen in your body once you consume this or that substance. It was mainly related to illegal drugs, but alcohol was one of these addictive substances that he covered. So it turns out that when you drink alcohol, the thing that happens is that your brain cells become paralyzed. They become literally zombies. And then next day, sometime after the party is over, some of your brain cells die and never get to normal. So think about it, if your brain is this most valuable tool you have in your journey to success and happiness, why would you destroy this tool for short-term pleasure? This sounds ridiculous. And I just threw a couple of millions there. And a lot of people after Bitcoin later next year went down, somewhere close to 300, 200, started to express their sympathy to me. They say, oh, you poor fellow, you made this horrible mistake investing in this new thing, but don't feel bad about it. We still have some respect for you. And my response to them was, I don't care, I'm not going to sell it. I believe in this thing. I think this is the way money should work. Nobody can confiscate your Bitcoin from you. Nobody can censor you for political reasons. This is the ultimate means of exchange. And again, I'm now talking about Bitcoin, but it relates to cryptocurrencies in general. So I have been able to fund my lifestyle, so to say, from my Bitcoin investment. Some people think if I'm able to rent nice locations or fly private, it's because I somehow extract money from Telegram. But like I said, Telegram is a money-losing operation for me personally. Bitcoin is something that allowed me to stay afloat. And I believe it will come to a point when Bitcoin is worth $1 million. Just look at the trends. The governments keep printing money like no tomorrow. Nobody's printing Bitcoin. There's a predictable inflation and then it stops at a certain point. Bitcoin is here to stay. All the fiat currencies remains to be seen.
That was Pavel Durov with Lex Fridman on freedom, discipline, and Bitcoin as uncensorable money. Tune in for the next segment as we continue the signal, right here on Hopium Radio.
This is Hopium Radio, your #1 radio station, your favorite source of dopamine hits for your Bitcoin bullishness. Broadcasting every day on the internet, where every dip is healthy, every pump is inevitable, and every chart is somehow confirming the thesis. No financial advice, just conviction and bull speeches strong enough to make you whisper, "I'm never selling," like it's a bedtime prayer. So whether you're up 12% and feeling chosen, or down 25% and suddenly a philosopher, you're in the right place. Lock in, turn it up, and stack sats responsibly, irresponsibly, because you're tuned in to Hopium Radio, where the signal is strong and the positivity is borderline toxic.